Given their Jewish background, was biographies common in the Jewish tradition as well?
Biography is not common in the Jewish world. So
Hmm.
you get the Hebrew Bible, and the Hebrew Bible is very interested in character and the character of largely great men. So, you have the cycle of stories around Joseph, for example, or Abraham or Moses. Um, but you get very, very few biographies in Judaism. Nearly always, the biography is part of a much longer story about God's dealings with Israel. So, the story of Moses is not a story about Moses on its own, but it's a story about God and Israel, and Moses just happens to be, an important character within
Mhm.
that wider story. So you do get the occasional biography. Somebody like Philo of Alexandria, who wrote a biography of Moses, so called it the Life of Moses. And you get one or two other things. Josephus wrote his history of the Jews, his Jewish antiquities, as a sort of a series of biographies. Just sort of one big character after another. Although that again, it was part of a wider history. But generally speaking, no, Jews didn't tend to write biographies. Christian or Christ following literature from sort of the 70s onwards starts to write specific stories about Jesus. Whereas Jews don't really do that. And one of the suggestions out there is that this sort of certainly as time goes on, this Jewish reluctance to embrace biography is partly driven by the fact that Christians have been very keen on biography, and it's sort of a way of separating. But it may also be the case that writing a book about, a religious book about a person, particularly a person from the recent past, just didn't really sit right with first century
Mm.
Jews. If you were going to write a book about a person at all, it would have to be somebody like Moses. Um, and even that sort of maybe felt wrong because it was giving a person too much status.
Mm.
Nearly all Jewish literature is really much broader and about God and the people. It
Mhm.
doesn't focus on individuals to that same extent that Greek and Roman biography did.